Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Happy New Year. As we head into the new year, I wanted to slow down and sort of reflect on how the year went. I normally do not take this time to do this at the end of the year, but I sort of wanted to make a habit of this. If you are new to this channel, my name is Leslie. I started this channel about a year ago. We're almost at that year mark. And I had the intention of using this YouTube channel to showcase my plant hobby and document my processes and basically my plant journey. And I feel like over the months, it has evolved quite a bit. And I will get into that a little bit more. But basically, it was a year of a lot of learnings, experimenting. I had some wins, and of course, there were a lot of struggles as well. So, yeah, in today's video, I wanted to talk about what went well in my plant hobby, what did not go so well, and what they taught me. I wanted to talk about some milestones that I'm proud of. And lastly, some topics or ideas that I have for this YouTube channel in the next year. I did spend some time to note the things that I wanted to talk about in this video, so I have them here on my laptop on the side. So I will probably be referencing stuff there. You'll see me look over there every now and then just because I have a habit of rambling. So I'll try to keep to the point by referencing those notes. Let's start with my list of accomplishments. The first one being the creation of this YouTube channel. I never thought that I would ever create a YouTube channel. Never thought it would be for me. But after some thought, I just thought it would be a really cool space to basically just talk about plants. And yeah, ultimately, I created my channel on January 1st, 2025, and released my first video with just a tour of my plants about 2 weeks later. And in that video, you'll also hear me say that I wanted to start the channel to share my plant journey and document how things change for me in the plant or in my plant hobby over time. So it has been very interesting. I wish I documented far more. I feel like I've done quite a bit of things behind the scenes, but I'm hoping in the new year that I could do a little bit more. But truthfully, just even having the channel and making some posts throughout the year has been really fun and encouraging. Um, and yeah, it's something that I look forward to whenever I can find that space of time while I am doing my full-time job. It's just nice to kind of have this little space as well and talk with a lot of other plant lovers. So that one's number one. The second thing on my list is actually my online plant shop. So I am running a shop at growinglovely.com where I'm selling both rare plants that I import from Thailand or corn propagations from my collection, as well as divisions and propagations of my personal plants that may not be rare plants or anything like that. So it's like a mix of different plants that I have posted on my shop, varying in prices and sizes and such like that. And I don't know, it has been such a rewarding experience. Like, I love doing management type stuff, and that's basically what I've been doing. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like I got to use the part of my degree for finance and stuff like that to use. And yeah, it has been something. I will say it was a little bit of a learning curve, or really a lot of a learning curve to figure out how to get this site set up, but I figured it out and it's live. And there are things that could be improved, but that is for later. For this year, I have accomplished creating that shop, and that is what I'm very happy for. The third one on my list may sound a little bit weird to some, but I'm just not much of a social media person at all. I never was. I had Instagram for a long time, but did I know how to use it? No. I didn't know what a story was. I didn't know what a highlight was. I learned so much this year. So Yes, my accomplishment was learning a lot more about social media in general. I've been learning on Instagram and Facebook specifically. Um, yeah, there are a lot of things I've been learning about. Um, and there are more things to come, more things to learn. But so far, I'm happy with the fact that I'm actually making use of them and I know how to use them now. So those were my accomplishments. Let's get into what could have been improved this year. I I hardly did any plant chores this year. I am guilty of that. I did a few, I did a handful, but really, I went really behind on my tasks for propagation, giving, getting moss poles, or chopping something when they need it, or wrapping them around the trellis, or just putting plants on a trellis. I've been really bad about that this year. I actually spent some time during the holiday season to chop and prop many of the plants that I had that were overgrown or needed some help. Some of them were my Ludicia discolor, Ludicia dragonfire, my Dulcinea marmorata titan. What else? My philodendron pink princess. I had several plants that needed to be chopped, propped, or dealt with in some shape or form. I did my Philodendron Glorious, Philodendron Micans again, because I did it earlier this year, but it needed cutting again. My or some of my orchids, like my Bulbophyllum maxillaire, Monstera Peru variegated. I think those were the main ones I did. I'm sure there were a few others, but I just, I just did so many. I did so many. I needed to get them done. Um, they were due. I should have been doing this throughout the year. Everything was just growing gangly. My Syngonium chia pens, it was already overgrown in January when I showed the plant tour, and it's still like I still didn't do anything. So that's also chopped up, and I have so many rooted plants now. Um, yeah, yeah, I really need to get better with that. The funny thing is, I really enjoy doing plant chores. So I really don't know why I put it off so much. Obviously, when work is super busy and overwhelming, it does take away my energy to do those things, but I really wish I did set some more time aside. And I'm going to see if I can try to dedicate some time like that. Um, my friend was suggesting I could do like a propagation day and sort of do that like once every month, just so that I can just kind of catch up on things and just kind of always have something going. But yeah, I love doing it, so I need to get better on that. Um, yeah, maybe the chopping less so. I don't like chopping up my plants as much, but sometimes it just needs to be done and you just gotta get it over with. Some other plants that I wanted to note that were on this list was my beautiful Philodendron verrucosum Amazon sunset. It was so beautiful at the top of this year, and I don't know what happened. It's just fading, and I just think I need to chop that plant. As much as I love it whole, I need to do something. My El Choco Red is also behaving strangely now. It's growing like bare stem at the base, and the leaves are not unfurling very nicely. I might have to figure out what's going on with that. And yeah, Scindapsus is maybe a genus that I may no longer grow. I have some that I really like the Exotica, I think is my favorite. Is it Jade Satin or Satin Jade? I really like that one too. These bigger leaved Scindapsus seem to grow better for me, but the tinier ones, they're driving me crazy. Like the Silvery Ann, the Argyreus, I think it's called, the Tricolor. What were the other ones? They're driving me crazy. The Trubii Moonlight. It is bigger leaved. It's actually a different kind. Like it's more of a waxier or waxy textured leaf, but I think I'm just going to keep my Scindapsus collection a little bit smaller next year and focus on the plants that I'm enjoy growing, and maybe I'll get better at doing plant chores for that too, just because it's the type of plant chores that I enjoy doing more than dealing with these very viney plants that are not growing leaves, which is what my problem is with some of these smaller leaved Scindapsus. So, yeah, that is one of the things I want to improve this year. The next one is not so much of what didn't go well, but more of a pain point. Um, as I keep diving into my rare plant project, I have been learning so much about the rare plant industry. Um, and I know there's so much talk going on right now about tissue culture and how it's affecting the rare plant industry. And I definitely want to dive into that someday. That is not necessarily my pain point. Um, but I do want to talk about that one day. I have so many thoughts. But really, what I want to talk about is the prices. Like, why aren't they coming down? A lot of the plants that I am importing right now are tissue culture plants. Yet, I buy them as a bundle too to see if I can get them at better prices. But it is what it is. Like, these plants right now just have that price tag right now. And I'm just looking into ways to see how can I bring that price down. I have no interest right now in doing tissue culture myself at home. It's a bit of a process and I don't have that space to do that right now. Maybe one day it would be really cool to try one day. But yeah, right now the best I can do is just import them and bring them here. And well, when you import, you all there's also a lot of cost involved there. Like I have to pay for shipping. I have to pay an exchange rate as well when I pay my supplier. Then there are also fees associated with doing the transfer, like depending on what app you're using and what your supplier will accept payment from. And if you're using something like Dragon Courier, where you're using their permit to import, then you also have to pay for that. Dragon Courier also sets up a shipping label from wherever the plants land. Usually it's at your international airport. So it gets shipped from there to my home. So there are so many layers and things that are involved that add to the price tag when the plant finally arrives here. So when I put them up in my shop, that is just the price. So all I can do right now is create availability. So if you want the plant, that's what they go for and you have access to it. The thing is I don't want to just create availability. I want that accessibility. I want it to be affordable for people. So if you are interested in getting those plans and investing in something like that, they're in my shop. If you're not comfortable with spending that money, you don't have to. Spend what you're comfortable with. If you are looking for something to invest in, go for it. If you're just looking for something like you want to treat yourself, then sure. But at the same time, do not ever feel pressured to be buying these plants because the prices change a lot over time between tissue culture and just availability in your area and competition when multiple people have it. So do what makes you comfortable. For me, I am enjoying doing what I'm doing and just providing that availability. But yes, the pain point is how do I bring the price down? And I'm hoping to have something on that more in the coming year. The last thing in terms of what didn't go so well this year was not being able to keep up with pushing out videos on YouTube. I wanted to document so much more, and I felt like I did a lot of things behind the scenes in terms of like sourcing plants or propagating my plants, plant care, how I repot some plants or propagate plants. Like a lot of it too is for documentation, like I had mentioned, but also just share with you guys what I do in case you're curious what I'm doing to grow some of my plants. And yeah, I've been learning and switching things up a little bit. Like one thing I wish I had noted this year, I typically always used peat moss as the base part of my mix, but I started moving over to cocoa coir a little bit, like maybe in June. I started switching over to cocoa peat, and that has been working well for me. I am moving away from using potting or pre made potting mixes like Miracle Grow or Pro Mix. A lot of the plants that I had in Pro Mix, for example, did not do so well. I've lost a couple of plants, and I think it's just too nutrient rich. Anyways, I've gone on a tangent again, but essentially I missed out on a lot of documenting points that I wanted to put out on YouTube. The other thing is, like, the Rare Plant Project has been such an interesting and fun project and sort of inspired the idea of my plant shop, but I don't want my channel to be solely focused on these rare plants. I I have so many other plants that I love and enjoy growing that aren't those plants. Like those are my project plants, but my personal plants, the ones that, you know, I feel a little bit more sentimental value because that's what got me into the hobby. They've been growing from a very tiny plant to, the size they are now. And, you know, they've been very rewarding. I want to showcase those ones more to you guys. I have a lot of orchids, even. I find that not many plant growers grow orchids, and I don't know if it's because they only know the Phalaenopsis orchid that is common in, I don't know, your home hardware or grocery store or something like that, like any home improvement store. But there's so many other kinds and they're just beautiful, they're diverse. It's just such a rewarding genus, especially when you see them in bloom. And I wanted to show the varieties because I have so many different kinds. So that is something that I have in store. In fact, let's just lead into the last bit that I wanted to talk about, which was essentially plans that I have for my YouTube channel. One of the things that I want to start doing in the new year is creating a bit more educational content. And that could range from a variety of different things. It could just be talking about how I care for my plants, the soil mixes I'm using, and kind of dive into that a bit more, which was my initial plan from the previous year. And actually do a bit of, maybe a deeper dive on like how I care for my alocasias, my different orchids, and things like that, including my Hoyas. I have so many that need to go on trellises, and I have bought some trellises from last year or in February 2025 when I went to that orchid show. Um, and I feel like I just want to make use of them. So it's going to be a little bit of like how I set up my plants and take care of them. But another idea that crossed my mind really that I really want to start doing, I don't know at what frequency, but I want to just kind of do deep dives on different species and talk about them, especially the more uncommon ones, whether it be an anthurium, a Hoya, an alocasia, just sort of diving deep. Um, I guess, for example, I got a Diascorea for the first time, which I know absolutely nothing about this. So I got it as a freebie when I did a shipment from Thailand. And honestly, the plant scares me because I know nothing about it. So I've been needing to do a bit of a deep dive. It's still growing, it's still alive, but I feel like maybe I should do a little bit of like a research and learn session, like just do it all like live on the video type of thing and sort of just research together. And I share what I learn and sort of put it together in that video. And I don't know, we can maybe even just continue the conversation through comments and stuff like that because I feel like as I've been diving more in this rare plant project, I'm just learning about so many more different plant species and, not even just like different genuses like the Dioscorea, but like even within the alocasia realm. Like I've always heard of alocasia reginae. Now that I have one, I really love growing it. And I just find like growing the alocasia reginae is very different than growing like, I don't know, a longiloba. I find that the reginae is very thirsty, and the longiloba maybe doesn't love the water as much as my reginae. It could just be maybe my growing conditions, but I don't know. I feel like it would be very fun to have a bit of like a research and learn, do a deep dive on the different plants, where they're from, what their care requirements are, maybe the difficulty in growing different plants. For example, the Dioscorea I have, I'm realizing, really hard to root. The vines are so thin. So in terms of propagation, if I don't know, that one's just a tougher one to propagate. Maybe I could like do a thing where we talk about like difficulty of propagation, difficulty of growing, to get it big, the sunlight requirements, like humidity requirements. How picky are these plants? So I don't know. And maybe it's like one video per plant. Maybe it's multiple plants in one video. And then we sort of discuss our learnings in the comments if you have personal experiences with any of those plants. I've been really excited to do something like that because I don't know, I like to take those deep dives. I go down that rabbit hole a lot on my own, so why not just do it together? Another thing that I want to do this year is start doing a bit more YouTube shorts. I think what I might do, there are some rare plant project related things that I might just move to being shorts instead of full videos. For example, my unboxings, especially because I get multiples of plants and buy bundles. I don't really have that many plants when I do unboxing, or many unique plants. So maybe I could just make those shorts if you want to see what I might be growing. And then YouTube content would just be about mostly educational stuff and plant chores and research, things I find in Thailand. That was another thing too that I wanted to start diving into, maybe even trends I'm seeing in Thailand, new plants that are coming out, and like the price ranges that they're going for, and like, I don't know, doing a little bit of stuff like that, because I think that was the thing that I was always curious about was, there's very limited visibility into what's going on in Thailand, and in terms of trends, what's selling, tissue culture, like what's available, how soon will they become available. You can kind of get a vibe. I could sense, for example, the Monstera bulbasaur. I could sense when that price drop was going to hit. You could kind of start seeing the rapid sales for some of the bigger plants, and then suddenly the TC plants were coming out of nowhere and they just kept dropping and dropping and dropping in price, especially the more you bought, the cheaper they got. I don't know. I could just do different segments on that if people are interested in that type of content, because I do have that visibility. So I thought that would be cool. The last bit of content that I want to do this year, which is in the educational vein, was potentially doing plant comparisons. There are some plants that look so similar, and it's really hard to distinguish the two. And sometimes it's multiple, like maybe there's three, like Poly Amazonica, Sanderiana Bull, and I think there's a True Amazonica, but I think True Amazonica is the same thing as the Sanderiana Bull. There are so many plants that look the same, and it's really hard to make that distinction. And I thought that maybe that might be interesting to do videos on that and do research and learn and do deep dives on what those distinctions are and potentially show those differences. So, if that's something you're interested in, also let me know. So, that is everything from my notes, the things that I had planned for this video. This was a quick bit of reflection that I had for the year and thoughts that have been crossing my mind, plans that I have for the year, things I need to improve on. And yeah, I'm going to start the year fresh with these ideas and focus on these. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, let me know. Well, that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe inspired you to do a bit of reflection for your plant hobby as well. Not required, but definitely felt good to sort of look back and see how things went. Curious to hear about your own reflections if you want to add them in the comments below. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video or if you learned something new, feel free to hit that like button. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, recommendations, anything at all, feel free to add in the comment section below and subscribe. You know what my plans are for the next year. I'll try to do a bit more frequent uploads in the coming year. I hope you have a lovely day, a happy new year, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.